Good morning. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Wanted to give you all an update on an arrest that we made this morning that we're breathing a sigh of relief, quite frankly. So on October 19th, Tuesday morning around 10 o'clock, we received a call to the 11,600 block of Hidden Terrace for a report of a cutting or stabbing. A 50-year-old male victim that was just out for his morning exercise was attacked and stabbed several times. It cut on his arms. What the victim described to us was that he was just out for his morning walk and felt like somebody punched him from behind, I believe in the back of the neck or the back of the head. He turned to confront the person that he believed punched him, and he said he felt two additional punches in the abdomen, at least two other punches in the abdomen. He then noticed that the person punching him, who had a rag on his face, he noticed that person actually had a knife in his hand and was not punching him, but was in fact stabbing him. The victim then put up a fight, and the suspect started slashing, and the victim suffered what we would call defensive wounds on his arms. Thankfully, that suspect ran from the scene, and the victim obviously survived the attack, albeit that he's got some pretty serious injuries. He was in surgery, and we were able to get some information from him. But what we did have is we put out the information, as you know, to the mainstream media and to the general public. And thankfully, we did get a doorbell camera video sent to us later that evening that we then shared with the media. And it was basically a pretty grainy video of the suspect walking behind the victim, appeared to be stalking him. And then at a certain point, the suspect is seen to take a bandana, put it over his face, and then charge the unsuspecting victim at that point and committing the attack. We were worried, quite frankly, that, due to the graininess of the video that we had, although we were thankful for it, it was pretty grainy. We didn't have very much to go on. Quite frankly, it was pretty reminiscent for me, based upon what I heard, based upon the brazenness of attacking an adult male, a large adult male in broad daylight. Told me that this suspect was pretty brazen, and I was a little worried. It was a bit reminiscent for me, quite frankly, of a case that I was involved in when I was at the San Antonio Police Department, case involving Lauren Bump when she was murdered by Christian Bautista in late 2013. And I've got to be honest, I got the same sense during the briefing that I managed yesterday, and I gave the detectives a sense of urgency that we really needed to catch this guy. They just did some outstanding police work, quite frankly. Yesterday, detectives went out and canvassed the area. We've been conducting ongoing operations out there, and I'll brief you on those as well. They did brief up and started canvassing the area, basically going door to door and asking neighbors if they had seen or heard anything suspicious. We had several people that did outcry that they identified a suspect that they knew as being, I guess, troubled in the neighborhood and being somewhat aggressive to people unprovoked, namely throwing rocks at people as they pass by for no reason. We did make contact with at one point we knew that we had made contact with that suspect in the past. In fact, we were able to pull up some body camera video from one of those encounters, and we were able to pull a still, and we compared it to the grainy video of the suspect in the initial attack, and it looked pretty close. So they went to a home in that area, and they were able to make contact with the suspect, 23-year-old Aldo Martinez Rios. I believe we've got a photo of him that we're going to be putting up for you here shortly. Aldo Martinez Rios. He ended up being arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon late last night. They did speak to him at length. What we know about him is this, that he has been contacted several times by our mental health deputies over the course of the past several months. He has been ED'd over the course of the past several months, several times. I know that on April 7th, I believe there was some action taken on September 13th, on September 27th, and on October 13th. Again, we contacted him with regard to some sort of a disturbance. So he is no stranger to our mental health deputies. In this instance here, we did bring him down. We did speak to him, and quite frankly, the details that I heard I'm not privy to the whole conversation, but it was pretty disturbing in that it appears that Mr. Martinez Rios actually confessed to having had a plan to ambush, and I'm paraphrasing, to ambush a male, an unknown male. And that's exactly what he did. It appears that he stalked and attacked just an unsuspecting man that was out doing his morning exercise routine, walking around his neighborhood, and he conducted this attack. And then he went on to tell us that he felt good after the attack, which is equally disturbing. To me, again, it tells me that I feel personally, having seen these sorts of cases before, I feel that if we didn't get him into custody, God only knows what would have happened had he decided, instead of a male, I want to try it with a woman or a child, or, I guess the possibilities are endless, and none of them are good. So we're very happy that we were able to get this suspect into custody. Esta mañana nosotros vamos a dar más información tocante un caso que nosotros tuvimos de un hombre el día 19, un hombre de 51 años, que estaba simplemente haciendo su rutina de ejercicio en su vecindad cuando él fue atacado por un sospechoso que ahora se sabe el nombre de ese sospechoso, Aldo Martínez Ríos, 23 años de edad, que nosotros sabemos que Aldo Martínez Ríos ha sufrido de crisis mentales en meses pasados, en semanas pasadas, donde nuestros oficiales han contactado, se han puesto en contacto con el sospechoso y lo llevaron para tratamiento. Desafortunadamente, el día 19, el Aldo Martínez Ríos atacó a esta víctima de 51 años de edad y lo apuñaló varias veces. Nosotros vimos un video que nosotros logramos agarrar de un vecino acerca del ataque, y nos dieron video que pudimos ver, pero el video no es de calidad donde podemos ver la cara del sospechoso, sino que nosotros tuvimos que, con el video ese, con información limitada, nosotros mandamos a nuestros detectives para la vecindad y ellos empezaron a hablar con vecinos y hablar con ellos para poder averiguar si ellos vieron algo, si pueden saber quién es el sospechoso este. Varios vecinos afortunadamente nos dieron información que nos llevó a la casa del sospechoso y pues hablamos con él. Lo detenimos, hablamos con él. Sí encontramos varias piezas de evidencia en su casa, ropa similar a la que tuvo puesto el sospechoso durante el ataque. Y hablamos con Aldo Martínez Ríos, detectives hablaron con él anoche y él se confesó al ataque. Él dio información que él tenía planes de atacar a un hombre, no se sabía quién, pero simplemente que él quería atacar a un hombre y que se sintió bien él cuando hizo el ataque. Él se sintió contento con lo que había hecho. Entonces, para nosotros nos quiere decir que aunque este sospechoso, obviamente él tiene problemas mentales, que para nosotros es una persona de peligro, y pues a nosotros nos da mucho gusto, mucho orgullo poder decir que lo arrestamos antes de que había pasado algo más. A mí me recordó de otro caso que yo trabajé con él hace varios años cuando yo era el vocero en el Departamento de Policía de San Antonio, donde una mujer, Lauren Pump, fue atacada en un parque por un sospechoso, Christian Bautista, y fue apuñalada varias veces. Desafortunadamente, esa mujer falleció a causa del ataque, y pues en el principio de este caso, cuando me dieron la información, obviamente yo me sentí como se estaba portando este sospechoso, me recordó del otro ataque. Afortunadamente, nosotros pescamos este sospechoso antes de que podía ser algo peor, especialmente contra una mujer o un niño, y pues obviamente nos da gusto hacer este arresto. Any questions on the case? Okay, so I might add that you know you may see an uptick in law enforcement activity in that area. As you know, we had a couple of incidents over there a couple of weeks ago, namely two officer-involved shootings in that area. After the most recent officer-involved shooting, we got to talking as a command staff and realized that that would happen on the 20th of September. We got to talking as a command staff and we said we noticed an uptick in violent crime in that area. So we made the decision to go ahead and start increasing the presence. After that last officer-involved shooting on the 20th of September, where we recovered several weapons, several handguns, after a pursuit with some suspects, we did make some arrests in that case. We decided to increase our presence. So we'd had our covert units working that area for some time, gathering intelligence, gathering information on warrants, people that were wanted in the area for violent crimes. We do have a mobile substation set up. I can tell you at Petrenko and Tally Road. So people may see an uptick in activity out there. It's just us being proactive in the area. So you may see that over the course of the next several days. We'll be treating it as a substation. You'll be seeing uniformed deputies coming in and out of there. You may see intelligence units coming in and out of there, patrol cars. You'll just see a heavier presence. So I don't want people to be alarmed that we have a gunman on the loose or anything like that, any active incidents. But you know, you will see us being proactive out there for at least the next couple of days. We're thankful that this morning we did make 2 arrests as a result of that violent crime, what we're calling a violent crimes initiative. We did make an arrest on a case that happened recently of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. This one was a domestic violence case where a victim came home to find an ex-boyfriend, Fred Bray, 64 years of age. Bray is spelled B-R-A-Y. She found him damaging her fence. He then took several pickets from that fence and then began beating the victim in the head. Thankfully, she was able to get away. Fred Bray ran into the woods, and I don't believe he was arrested until we arrested him today. So we were definitely happy to make that arrest. That case, I believe, happened in the 11,700 block of Claymoon Circle. Let me spell the name of the street: C-L-A-M, M as in Mike, O-U-N as in Nancy, Circle. 11,700 block of Claymoon Circle. We also made an arrest of sexual assault of a child this morning, pursuant to the same violent crimes initiative. Again, we're just looking for anybody with a violent history, a violent warrant in that area, and we're paying some special attention to those warrants and making a concerted effort that while we're out there, let's go ahead and gather the intelligence and start sweeping up people that have a violent crime warrant. Nosotros ahorita en esa área donde pasó el ataque nosotros hace unas cuantas semanas tuvimos un incidente con oficiales donde nosotros perseguimos varios sospechosos que habían hecho un tiroteo. Nosotros logramos pescar algunos de sus sospechosos, pero también encontramos varias armas en un carro que nosotros perseguimos y fue abandonado por esos sospechosos. Nosotros ese día, el día 20 de septiembre, nosotros hicimos la decisión de empezar a incrementar a los oficiales en esa área. Nosotros por varias semanas trabajamos con nuestros detectives encubierto en esa área, recogiendo inteligencia, recogiendo información tocante a personas con órdenes de arresto que viven en esa área, y hemos incrementado la actividad. Este día ustedes pueden ver un vehículo especial que nosotros usamos por operaciones así, donde queremos incrementar la actividad y ponemos este vehículo grande ahí y lo usamos como un centro de actividades. Nosotros tenemos oficiales trabajando con información dentro de esa oficina móvil, y pues oficiales trabajan en patrulla en el área y usan ese centro de operaciones para trabajar. Ese vehículo ahorita está en Potranco y Tally Road, y pues la gente, el público pueden venir a ese vehículo y pueden dar información tocante a otros delitos, pueden agarrar información de nosotros para cómo prevenir delitos. Nosotros hemos visto en esa área, tanto como el resto del condado, que muchas veces las armas que nosotros encontramos, armas que son usadas contra oficiales, son armas que son robadas de ciudadanos privados, donde se les hace fácil, aunque tengan un arma legal, muchas veces se les hace fácil dejar esa arma bajo el asiento del carro y ya se van para su casa por la noche, y muchas veces estas armas son robadas de esos carros. Entonces, les urgimos al público y vamos a estar dando información tocante a eso, que por favor, si tienen armas, mételas a la casa, cuida esas armas, porque si llega a las manos de un criminal, si llega a las manos de un niño, algo malo pueda pasar, y es lo que estamos tratando de prevenir ahora que se están viendo más armas. What I mentioned to them is that part of our increased presence out there is proactive information giving. So people can actually come by this mobile substation at Petrenko and Tally. They can give information on other crimes that they might see. Our intelligence folks are there to gather information as well. Or come by and say hello. If you just want to come by and say hello. Sometimes people will come by and bring out cookies to the deputies, and I hadn't seen a cop yet that'll turn down a free cookie. So come on by. Our office is your office, and so we are urging people to come by. We're giving information on personal safety. We're giving information on securing your vehicles at night. As I mentioned, several of the officer-involved shootings that we've seen in recent months have been with stolen guns that were literally a legal gun one moment, but it was left under the seat of somebody's car, and that legal gun becomes an illegal gun just like that in the hands of a criminal. And in several instances, it was used against deputies in deadly officer-involved shootings. So we also want to talk about jogger safety, personal safety. This victim was just out minding his own business and doing his exercise routine, and he was viciously attacked. So just be cautious, be aware of your surroundings at all times. People like me, I was out running this morning near the office, and we tend to have those AirPods in, or headphones in, and you may not hear what's going on around you. So just be ultra sensitive of your surroundings. I hate that we have to be that way. I hate that we have to be hyper vigilant, but it is the world that we live in, unfortunately, especially when somebody like this suspect here decides to do something bad to somebody for no apparent reason. And so we are, again, urging people to exercise in well-populated areas. Take advantage of the trails, but take a buddy with you, or at least, at the very least, if you're going to go out by yourself, let somebody know where you're going to be, and have a cell phone with you so that you can call for help if need be. We certainly don't want to see any more ugly attacks like what we saw with Aldo Martinez Rios, and certainly the one that I talked about, that I referenced earlier with regard to Ms. Lauren Bump. So any questions at all on the operation or this attack in particular?
Sheriff, I did have one question, but it was more about the jail consulting stuff that's been going on in the past few weeks. I know we've talked about it, a few times this week. I just wanted to see, did you have, any concerns about having these, dual consulting operations going on around the same time? And what's your reaction to the commissioner's court passing, or deciding on hiring their own consulting even after you announced your pick?
So look, I mean, at the risk of, this presser was about, praising the work of my homicide group and my organized crime group. So I definitely don't want to hijack that with talking about this. But with that being said, I'll keep it short. But I do want to answer your question. So, I mean, look, it's within the purview of the commissioners to hire somebody like that. I mean, obviously, they asked for my permission to let that consultant come in. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have some concerns about the intentions. I believe that this is my belief, that this other consultant was hired probably with some intentions of somebody on the court, not everybody on the court, but somebody on the court with the intentions of it leading to privatization of the jail. I can tell you right now definitively, and I can't say this emphatically enough, as long as I'm sheriff, this jail will not be privatized. I will not hand the keys to this jail over to anybody. The voters of Bexar County put me in this job. They entrusted me with this job, and that includes managing the Bexar County Jail. While like any other major jail in the country, we're going to have incidents. We're going to have, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, we're going to have custodial deaths. We're going to have suicides. But you know what? We're also going to have suicides prevented and incidents prevented. I mean, over the last week, I gave out probably a dozen life-saving medals to deputies that prevented suicides out on patrol and in the jail. Not a word was spoken about that. Unfortunately, the negative is what gets pushed out a lot of the time. So that's why I take it upon myself to sing the praises of my homicide unit when they do a good job. And you know what? Praise the good work of those deputies in the jail. They have a hard job. And, you know, the word that's used quite frequently is they want, you know, somebody wants to professionalize the jail. Well, you know what? Those deputies in that jail across the street receive over twice the amount of training that's required by the state. They're about as professional as it gets. And I take exception. And if I get a little loud and animated about it, I'm sorry, but they're about as professional as it gets. And they got a tough job. And so for somebody to sit here and say that they want to professionalize what they do, I believe that means privatize what they do, which again is never going to happen. But when you say to professionalize what they do, it cheapens their work, it insults their work, it's an insult to me, and it's an insult to the 454,000 voters that put me here because they thought I was doing a great job. And so, you know, I do take exception with it. If the commissioners wanted to hire another consultant, that's okay. They asked for my permission to allow the consultant in. I have every intention of allowing that consultant in. I don't want that consultant to interfere with the consultants that I've hired. I don't think that that's going to be the case. From what I've seen, that consultant seems to be a professional person. I certainly would never insult that other consultant or his good work. But if I do get the impression that he is in any way interfering with my other consultants that I hired, or if the intention seems to be toward privatizing this jail, we may have some problems. But in the meantime, I'll cooperate. I don't, me personally, and again, I'm being honest here, and I said it in court, I don't know that it was a good use of taxpayer dollars to hire that second consultant. My consultant was hired with seized funds, asset seized funds. In other words, drug dealer money that we seize and we convert to agency use. So I used that money, not taxpayer funds, to hire mine. Commissioners utilized, I believe, just around $20,000 in taxpayer funds to do it. Again, no slam on them. That's their prerogative to do that. I do appreciate that they thought to ask. Commissioner Calvert thought to ask on the record if I would allow their consultant in. So yeah, I'm gonna play nice with everybody. But again, if I get the idea that the process has been further weaponized and its intent is to create discord in any way, I may change my mind about allowing that second consultant to come in. I have the intention to meet with that consultant if and when he comes. I'm sure he's going to come to town at some point. So I would like to sit down with him and hear what his intentions are, and hopefully maybe direct him to some things that I see. You know, my consultants have a scope of work that they're going to be looking at. And so I don't know, maybe I'm open to ideas. I'm certainly open to outside ideas. If there's something that's within that scope of work that I say, you know what, I'd really like you to look at this, maybe he'll take my input on things that I'd like to see or like to see improved upon. You know, I did take exception with the fact that nobody consulted with me on the hiring of this during the process to hire this other consultant. I feel a little threatened by that. And I don't see how a commissioner hiring another consultant that doesn't really know, they haven't set foot in this building that I know of. So how do you know what the problems are? I know that you've got your idea of what those problems are, too much overtime, but I can tell you why we're getting too much overtime. We've got a higher than normal inmate population that we're also dealing, and then that's because of the state moving a bit slow on picking up convicted inmates. And it's also because the courts just got moving back to in-person trials, that people have a right to an in-person trial, and sometimes they sit in jail until they await that. We've also still are serving as a de facto mental health hospital in a lot of cases. I hate to keep saying it, but it's true. There's people here that don't belong here. They should be in a mental hospital somewhere, but because there aren't enough beds, they're either in here or they're walking around on the street until they end up here. I honestly, I think Aldo Martinez Rios is a perfect example of that. Now it's too late. Now he's facing a felony charge. At any rate, I think we've got a higher than usual inmate population that can be explained. We're in the middle of a pandemic that nobody can deny, because we're dealing with it just like every other major jail in the country is dealing with this pandemic. We're dealing with it by spacing out our inmates. The upside to that is it helps with numbers. This morning I looked and I think we've got 11 or 13 inmates that have COVID out of 4,400. That's a spectacular number because of our efforts. The downside to spacing out your inmates and treating this pandemic as a deadly pandemic that it is that your overtime goes up because it costs in some cases twice as many deputies to guard the same number of inmates because you're spacing them out into various living units. So our efforts are paying off in one respect, but they're adding to our overtime woes. The third factor that we're dealing with is, again, what everybody in the country is dealing with right now, not just jails, not just law enforcement agencies, every company, everybody's got staffing issues right now. In court, I referenced a report that the Express News did, a story that the Express News did several days ago that said that people are leaving jobs, not just law enforcement jobs in droves. They're leaving to go find better employment, to seek education opportunities, to go find a better paying job. That's the same thing that we're seeing in resignation letters from deputies. I want to go work at the San Antonio Police Department. I want to go pursue my education. I want to move back home to take care of my parents that are sick. So these are all problems that easily explain the issues that we're going through. With that being said, I think I'm hoping that both of these consultants, the ones that I hired, Detain Inc., and the ones that were hired by Commissioner's Court, I hope that we can look at both reports and reconcile the two. And some are going to be right along the same lines, probably duplicating efforts. Again, I didn't know if that was the best use or timing of that other consultant. And some of them are going to be in direct conflict with each other. These guys say the walls are blue, and these guys are going to say the walls are green. Nothing I can do about that or prevent. We just have to look at what they both say and factor it in. At the end of the day, no matter what these consultants say, the jail is still within my purview. That might be aggravating to some folks, but the jail is still within my purview. And I'm going to decide what to do with the information given to us, no matter by whom. I want to make for a better working environment for our deputies. Absolutely. I want a safer jail for our inmates. Absolutely. I can tell you right now, some of the things both of these consultants are going to say is that this jail is an outdated facility. Some of the things in it are outdated. It's got normal wear and tear, literally. And I hate to say this, chunks of this building fall off for no apparent reason. Sometimes chunks of brick will fall off the building, not because of anybody doing anything. It's a 30 some odd year building that has been used. It's gone through some rough use over the years, and it's worn. And so I suspect that some of the things that these consultants are going to tell us may be, hey, you need a new construction. You need to tear down these walls and put a new one up. So some of the things they say are going to be completely cost prohibitive. While I'd love to say, well, let's just build a new jail. Let's be realistic. We don't have that kind of money in this day and age, and jails are expensive to build. So long story short, I'm gonna take in what both of these consultants have to say. I will not be privatizing the jail. So if anybody's considering putting that in a consultant's report, you can leave that part out, because that's not going to happen. And I'm never going to willingly hand these keys over to anybody. As I mentioned in court, as an elected official, I don't answer to Commissioner's Court. I answer to the voters of Bexar County. So far, they seem to have approved of the job that I've done In the last couple of polls that I've seen looked really good for me. Is there always room for improvement? Yes, absolutely. And I'm hoping that these consultants have that in mind versus some sort of weaponized process that's going to try to make trouble or sow discord. The last thing I want is more of these kids in the jail. I hate calling them kids, but they're all kids to me. I hate seeing these deputies resign en masse to go find employment elsewhere. I am hopeful that those that have resigned will consider coming back, as does happen from time to time as well. We'll get deputies that go elsewhere because the grass always seems greener, and then they'll come back, and that's okay. We'll welcome them back with open arms as long as they left under honorable circumstances. So I hope I answered your question, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions at all, folks, before we close? Okay, well, I thank you all so much. Again, I just wanted to sing the praises of all these deputies that we talked about today, all the ones out there doing this proactive mission, this mobile subdirected patrol, all of the investigators and organized crime and gang unit deputies, traffic deputies that were out there that caught this dangerous suspect and the two suspects this morning on violent crimes. And I absolutely want to praise the deputies working in the jail across the street. They've got a tough job, and I'll be darned if anybody's going to make it harder just out of malice. So thank you all so much for joining us today. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for joining.